and gentlemen, I am Borderwise, and welcome to the new, improved RTG-powered gathering platform that is not, in fact, the focus of today's episode at all, except, well, it is. And the episode in question today is a rundown of all craft that have appeared in my Neater campaign playthrough from the depths so far. Now, someone suggested that I do this some time ago, and I've finally got around to occurring it largely because, as of right now, time of recording, we're about to reach a new stage in the Neater campaign. We're going to finally kill the Onyx Watch and move on to other factions. And yeah, so I thought it would be a good idea just to run down just basically the list of all the craft I've used so far in the campaign. And it's like, I don't know, it's a funny feeling because over the odd 20 episodes or so of my Neater playthrough, like, I have learned so much just from playing the game more, from actually playing the campaign, and last but not least, from all the people watching, commenting, and just giving really helpful advice. And so, really, I can look back now and think, wow, I am so much better at this game as a result. And thank all of you for your feedback. That's really awesome, because on that note, we're going to start with the craft which I think didn't work so well. This won't be any particular order, by the way. I've categorized my craft into retired craft, as in craft that I don't think I'm ever going to likely to use again because they're crap. And craft I think of as being pretty successful. And Lend-Lease craft, which is essentially other people's vehicles, which they have graciously let me show off, or that I've retrofitted for my own purposes. And Future craft, as in vehicles which I have built, they're ready, they're functional, I've tested them thoroughly, and they're going to be showing up in future episodes. And so, I'm excited about that, hope you are as well. But we'll start off with the craft that are crap and don't work well. So, firstly, we're going to go here. Ships, and I have a not very big, a pretty damn big retired craft folder. These are all the things I've sunk effort into that got past the prototype stage, and then after a while I just decided, you know what, these are actually not very good. So first one on the list is something that a few of you might remember, largely because I think in pretty much every episode where I was dealing with paddle gunners and was hating every minute of it, this thing featured prominently. This is the Blue Tongue. It's, how big is it? It is 73 meters long, 70 meters wide, 12 meters tall, just about 26,000 materials, mostly made of wood, and, well, I'm not going to cover any of these craft in huge detail. I might put the successful ones up on the workshop after I'm done recording this. But yeah, so this was a bit of a failure in my eyes, and well, the reason for that is just it does not put out enough firepower, and, well, it's made of wood. Its armor isn't ideal. If we go here and do this, you see that the deck is wood, the sides are wood, and admittedly multiple layers of wood and all that stuff, but really, it's, not very well armored. The shielding is less than adequate. I believe this thing is really only shielded on its rear, so let's just test that quickly, show that off. Oh yeah, it does have Daddy Blades in it. This is one of the first craft I actually started mucking around with Daddy Blades. And yeah, this rear armor for the ammo, really, it's not good. Not for the point, not good enough to go up against even Deepwater Guard godly designs. It's layer of metal, there's an air gap in here, that's less than good. That's my mistake already. Metal blocks, what the hell was I thinking? So yeah, just poor armor, poor shield. Where the hell are the shields on this thing? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's like, and before you ask, yes, it is cathartic for me to tear my own designs to pieces. So yeah, okay, it's actually got, yeah, shielded. Ugh. This could be done way better. The shields aren't overlapping, which means that frag tears this thing up pretty badly, and the guns are just 3 direct input 500mm guns, which are just high explosive. And, yeah, on paper, or at least in my mind, this thing would have worked well, but in execution, not really. So, you can bugger off, Blue Tongue. I never want to see you again, unless I want to retrofit you into something that actually works well. So, that's Blue Tongue. And we have, right here, the Garter Snake, which isn't actually... I don't hate this one particularly much, it's just... I don't think this thing ever got screen time. Like, I honestly can't remember, and I didn't go and check my episodes, which is like... well, fairly damning for me. If I can't be bothered to watch my own episodes, who the hell is? But I can't remember if this thing was ever shown off. So, if it was, it didn't make much of an impact. But I haven't actually given up on this thing entirely yet. I've just been, well, tweaking it earlier today, because I think I can salvage this. I can make this into an early game, a starter craft. That, just to go along with the skink. You know, get some guns in the early game as well. The problem is that I designed and started making these things when I was well into fighting the Deepwater Guard, and they were throwing things like paddle gunners and... I don't think... did we ever get a plunderer? I don't remember. We were getting pretty annoying godly stuff, paddle gunners in particular, and this is just not for that. You need more Docker, and you need just more everything. And this thing is mainly light and cheap and fast. And all-rounder, so just under 15,000 materials. It's got these little direct input. The one in the campaign actually used heat shells. This uses frag now, because it's sometimes good to come back to a design after bloody ages and look at it and say, like, what the hell was I thinking? Why would you use heat shells that are only 122mm at this fire rate? It's just, nah, it does not work. So now it's a 180-degree frag, it works a lot better, and it's got a pair of torpedoes right here, and yeah, tweaked these as well, made them slightly bigger. And one of the things I am reasonably proud of with this thing is that it's quite ammo efficient. It carries a lot of ammunition, as you can see. You can see right there, it carries over 4,000 ammunition. For what it's armed with, it can keep firing without using any materials for a very long time. I'm rather pleased with that. And it's kind of cheap, like, all around. If it gets hit on the hull, it repairs itself for good. I should mention that all the, like, these failed ships are repair monsters. They rely on repairs to stay alive. Not a good idea. It just burns through your money, and particularly, like, once I started fighting the Onyx Watch, that was really causing me to hurt. So, yeah. It's hurting my finances. You don't use repair bots as a crutch, guys. It is actually not worth it. You gotta just focus on active defense, or failing that, use actual tough material. Just, if you're anticipating the hull itself taking fire, just make it out of metal, make it out of alloy, make it out of something, and just limit repair bot usage to, like, the occasional hit that sneaks through. I've learned this the hard way. So, this thing is, I'm working on getting it out of the rubbish bin, but until then, well, I don't know, it's kind of stuck in the retired craft folder. And then now we get to something which I am completely and utterly ashamed of. This is the Horn Toad, which is similar in ambition to the Garter Snake, right here. Did I mention this thing's name? I should have. See, the problem with the Garter Snake is that it's so bloody forgetful. It's like, it's a very unremarkable craft. It's just, well, apparently I find it boring because I keep forgetting about it. The Horn Toad is not boring because, well, it is inefficient because it doesn't do damage quickly, it eats materials to repair itself. It's ineffective because aforementioned low DPS, it's not incredibly fast, not very well armored, and also, like, what was it? It was three things. It was inefficient, ineffective, and also it's just ugly. Like, I am not one known for aesthetic designs, but this thing is just nasty. It's just... I normally have a soft spot for things that are, like, not on the pretty side, but this is just awful. I'm not sure what I was thinking with this one. And it's armed with rather inefficient direct input. Like, I've learned the hard way that if you're sticking more than 2 barrels on a turret, it's like not time to move away from direct input, because these barrels are expensive and they're also heavy, so I could, for the same volume and material cost, you could make quite a good little frag gun, actually, rather than this complete waste of material that I have right here. And I believe that it's HE frag, and at this, I don't know, I have a soft spot for like low gauge high explosive, but you gotta admit, at 120 millimeters, just high explosive is just not really worth it, unless you're firing very quickly, which this does not. I mean, 290 explosive damage, that's not much. That really isn't much. You can, at this gauge, you can just up the damage so much by just switching it to frag. 193, but that's 45 fragments. That does a lot better than just, say, 377 explosive damage, which is, I don't know, it really, like, low gauge explosive just really suffers against anything with decent armor. Even layered wood can take it. So yeah, Horn Toad is absolutely ghastly, and I regret ever introducing it. So yeah, and the last one I should mention, there's a lot of things in here, is the Orochi, and this might come as a surprise to some of you, because the Orochi lasted quite a long time in the campaign. The one I spawned in the campaign, I eventually had to scrap because I needed the materials. And this basically represents, well, everything that I didn't really like about it. It's just, it relied on repairs to stay alive. It's low DPS, like, it's got 16 500mm direct input guns, which is actually not bad because it's high explosive and it's squash. So it's a Hesh user. And, well, I was just never really satisfied with it. Like, it's cheaper than its sister ship, the Skella. Their two are very similar. Essentially, when I upgraded one, I just, you know, to upgrade the other, I just swapped the turrets out and saved over the previous one, but yeah, I was never really satisfied with this. Particularly because the shell arc for APS is a lot flatter than Cram's. This thing tends to shoot itself a lot more than the Skella does, so yeah, we'll get to the Skella in a moment, but yet the Orochi I ran out of ways to make it better, really. And probably could still tweak it. Like, with anything in this game, you can still put in some time, put in some effort, and make it better. But with the Orochi, I had had enough. Particularly because whenever I tweaked the Skilla, I felt obligated to go fix the Orochi as well, and vice versa. And it just wasn't worth it anymore. So, Orochi is currently in the retired craft section. So, there it will stay until, I don't know, an update that makes direct input guns like really, really good, as in really good. So yeah, that is the craft. So we got those four. Let's get in the blue tongue again so you can see it again. I couldn't stand to look at it. So there we have these 4 wooden piles of crap. And so yeah, retired craft. Like, not tremendously pleased with the performance of any of these. And most, like, blue tongue, just waste of time, really. Horn Toad, definite waste of time. And, like, the Garter Snake, like, was just introduced too late. I should have introduced this at the very start of my campaign and gotten a swarm of these little guys to go along with the skinks. And the Orochi, which is just like the Skilla, but not really. So, let's get rid of those, and let's go on to the more cheerful note, the craft, which I think actually worked well. So we're going to start off with, speaking of the skink, we're going to talk about the skink. And this is still got to be one of the favorite craft I've ever built. Like, it's not pretty, it is a triangle. It is pointy at the front and blunt at the back. It's got missiles on it, it's got a pair of torpedoes underneath, pretty big ones too. And it's mostly made of wood. But I just like it because it's reasonably simple. It's got some Daddy Blades in the front just to make it go a little bit faster. It's got sticky flare launchers on the back, dual rudders, got hydrofoils stuck in here to keep it to stop it rolling over in the water. So just early good principles. It even has a radar on it, even though it actually doesn't need it, because it uses self-guided weaponry, but I just like it. So it's reasonably fast, it can engage both air and surface targets. And it's tougher than it looks simply because layered wood in the early game is surprisingly good armor. Because if we have, let's say here is where the AI is. We've got, between the AI, we've got a layer of stone, we got a layer just of stuff, and 2 layers of wood, which doesn't seem like much. Except that where enemies tend to aim is here at these ammo barrels, where you've got a layer of metal, a layer of wood, a layer of wood, a layer of wood, a layer of wood, and a layer of wood. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 layers of just materials, and this adds up. I believe the algorithm, I forget the exact algorithm for this, but 1 layer of wood is 3 armor, 2 layers of wood is 6, I think 3 would be 7 or 8, and so basically 5 layers of wood, suddenly like you're getting into the area of like, well, you're getting close to like the armor rating of stone or beyond it. So yeah, this thing's reasonably tough, and even though it relies on repairs to stay alive, as a lot of my craft used to, I've spent a lot of time fixing that, so they actually use active defense and don't eat all my money in a fight. This still doesn't burn much materials because it's mostly made of wood, and like, it tends not to get shot in the expensive bits quite a lot, unless it actually gets killed. So yeah, Skink. Rather pleased with that one. And yeah, so moving on. Here we have another one. And I can't remember what version of the Goanna I've been using in the campaign. I think I started out with the one that used cram cannons, and I ripped those off some time ago in favor of direct input feeders. And this one actually works reasonably well, because it has 8 of them. See, if you're gonna use guns that fire slowly and don't do much damage, just use lots of them. So 8 500mm guns, each firing 4 shots a minute. So 4 shots a minute times 2, 8 shots a minute times 4 again is, suddenly you're up to 32 shots a minute. Which isn't bad for something this this cheap and this short. It's not very tall. And it's about 40,000 materials. It's got these little simple lasers on it, just for point defense. And yeah, I got rid of the crams on this thing because, again, repair monster. And crams are expensive, and this thing gets hit in the guns a lot. And crams are very expensive to repair, so don't like that, changed it. And just, it kind of proved itself a few times over. Again, I think in the actual campaign, the cram-using version was the one that was seen. But in any case, the Goanna, nice big lizard. And actually, I should mention, I originally made this thing from a water buffalo, the deep water guard. This thing. So you can kind of see how I did that, mostly just in how the turret is shaped. I changed it a lot, actually. It's spawned in another Goanna here, just so you can see. So the Goanna is about twice as long. I like long, pointy craft. And so yeah, I essentially trimmed all the fat off a water buffalo, prefabbed the entire thing, and then stuck it on the back. And then added more guns on it. So yeah, and the result was the Goanna. Fun times. Not much to say about it, really. So yeah, rather pleased with that little craft as well. Let's go over here. And what's next? I'm trying to put them in the order that they appear, and here we go with this fellow. And this is like almost the poster child for my Nita playthrough, because the Skilla is I don't know, one of the very first ships I was ever kind of happy with. Largely because, like, it's not a pretty craft, I will admit that straight off the bat. It is a meta lump of armor and not very big cram guns. And just, it's transformed a lot. It's like on, what version is this on? This version's on 111, so it's changed a lot, and it's about twice as expensive as the first iteration, but it's also way more than twice as effective, which is definite improvement. So, features, it's got these little simple anti-missile simple lasers on here, which actually do a pretty good job so long as the missile swarm isn't too big. And they're quite good at popping the odd torpedo that gets close as well. It's got anti-torpedo turrets just underneath. I need to get rid of those fail-safes, actually. Actually, I'll do that right now, just while I'm talking. Because fail-safes, you don't actually want them on these things. It's pointless. These missiles can't actually damage your own hull. And you want the thing firing when things, well, when incoming torpedoes are coming. So, yeah, you need that. You need that badly. And I'll just save that, like, not the skinky muggins. Don't worry, I'm not doing maintenance while recording, honest. So yeah, it's got 8 big cram guns, and it's now got a party mix. So it's got regular high explosive, regular, well, high explosive frag, it's got penetration depth, kinetic high explosive, and it's got explosive EMP, and all of those are timed fuses. And it's just, yeah, it's actually absolutely quite marvelous. It's also got layered shields now. I was very reluctant to stick shields on any of my crafts back in the day, so because I hate shields. I hate setting them up, and I kind of hate the entire mechanic of them. I think that they're just fiddly and annoying and just poorly balanced. So, no offense to anyone watching who's on the dev team. You guys are great. I love you. But I hate shields. They are simply not fun. Not to use, not to build. And, yeah, so I remember once, one of the biggest, like, overhauls of the skill I ever did is that these turrets used to be a bit further out. So the turret is here now, so very close to the spine of the ship. Used to be way out here. And what I did was essentially shove them, like, over here. So it's like, how was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I shoved them about 5 meters inwards towards the spine of the ship, which meant about 5 more layers of armor. And if you look at this, there's a lot of armor on the skillet. This is mostly stone and just a ridge of metal right here. Still can't quite remember what's that. That's probably left over from where the guns used to sit. In fact, that is exactly where it is. They used to be out here. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5 meters in. So this is a giant slab of stone and wood, which means it's pretty tough, pretty cheap for what it is, really. And yeah, I'm rather proud of it, even though it is a meta brick covered in guns. And the more updated, more expensive version, the Iron Skilla, is not much different, to be perfectly honest with you. The only real difference is that instead of wood, this thing has alloy. So I just replaced all the wood on the Skilla with, well, metal alloy. Using the blueprint tool that I think I'm gonna have to stick it in the description now, just so you can find out. It's a little bit old, but it still works with a lot of craft. And just the difference in durability between wood and alloy is frankly amazing. I'm amazed at how much less damage this craft takes compared to its like wooden cousin over there, because if you look at the stats for wood, and here's one of my problems with From the Depths, I don't like reading numbers, so I tend not to. So I just test things a lot instead, waste a lot of time. So a single wooden beam, 1080 health, 3 armor, weight of 40. Meanwhile, an alloy beam is 1560 health, 13 armor, so over double the armor. Well, over 4 times the armor, and is lighter as well. So if you've got the cash to spare, alloy is better than wood in almost every single way except EMP absorption. And on that note, the other difference between this and the regular Skilla is that there's a little bit more EMP protection. I've shoved surge protectors in the hull just to protect the smoke dispensers at the very least. And also to protect, where is it? I think... yeah, so these shield projectors are sitting on stone, so they're fine. So yeah, the Iron Skilla, I'm pleased with that one. People... like, when I first said that I was just going to essentially convert the Skilla to be made of alloy, there were people in the comment section who were saying like, that might not be a good idea, that's expensive. But it turned out to work pretty well. The Iron Skilla can solo an Iron Cordon with considerably less materials spent and considerably quicker than the original Skilla can. So, hardy har, it worked. Okay, so Iron Skilla, and now we have the thing that I really was looking forward to putting into the campaign for a long time. This is currently the crown jewel of my fleet. This is the Naga, which is it is a over 200 meters long, well, 233 meters long, 31 meters wide, 21 meters tall. I like my ships long and skinny. Don't ask me why. It's not actually the most efficient way to build them. But yeah, it is just shy of 300k, which, like, its first iteration was below 200k materials. It's been upgraded a lot since then, or more than doubled in cost. And so yeah, this is it's well armored, decently well shielded. It's got big guns. Again, like the newest iteration of the Skilla, party mix. It's basically all these guns are high explosive kinetic penetrators with a bit of frag mixed in as well. I find frag works pretty well as just a bit of extra salt and pepper on penetration depth shells, because they can reach a little bit further into a ship than a regular explosion can. And yeah, these are also big guns, 1900 millimeters, or just over. And these taller guns in the middle here also have EMP on them, and I believe in the last NATO episode I was gushing about that quite a lot, simply because it is a really good counter to heavy armor, and it also means that the Faraday cage method of EMP protection doesn't work so well. And what I mean by that is that you stick the more tougher conductive materials on the outside of your ship where that does the most work, and the inside of your ship is made of stuff that doesn't conduct EMP very well, like wood and stone, and even heavy armor, which just absorbs it rather than transmits it. So yeah, the EMP pen depth counters that quite well, and it's got these smoke guns here. I'm still proud of myself for coming up with that all by myself. Like, I know for sure I'm not the first one to think of it, but yeah. Little 200mm smoke guns. These are the upgraded Awelner edition of smoke gun, by the way. Like, if you go look in this thing's guts, there's actually a belt feeder in here somewhere. Yep, there it is. So this thing actually fires quite a bit faster than the one I originally came up with. And it's got munition warners, it's got laser warners, it's got smoke, it's got quite handy radar decoys here. Because what these things do is that they kind of just get flung up. Ah yeah, so this one in particular, there's a radar buoy and a ballast tank set to maximum buoyancy, which means that it gets flung out off the ship, off to the side here, lands in the water, and then just keeps bouncing out of the water. And it tends to pull entire missile swarms straight into the drink, and works pretty well actually. I'm rather happy like I came up with that. And these, it's got direct input disruptor guns right here, and these things don't do tremendously much, but I find in an extended fight they do tend to blow shields off. It's a reasonably 239 EMP strength, so about 20% of that goes into EMP damage, which is around 50 or so. Which means it does take more than one shot from each of those guns to take down a shield. But I don't mind, because the Naga's tough enough to ensure that it does get off quite a few shots. And it's got missiles in here. Nothing tremendously fancy. Target prediction frag heads on one side. and target prediction EMP on the other. I could mix these, but I kind of like them separate, just so you get a really good EMP jolt and you get good frag damage on the other side. And it also has, I should mention, this LAM system right here. This is a recent addition. And I'm still not amazing at LAMs, but I like short-range burst LAMs. Largely because it makes dealing with missile swarms and torpedoes a lot easier, and it, as you probably saw in the last NATO episode, it does pop the odd cramshell as well. So, I just realized I've spent, well, a lot of time nattering right now. I should probably get on with it. Actually, no, I'm on time. Quit being hard on myself, me. And it also has torpedoes, so it's got some small fast ones, because I tend to find particularly anything that skims on the water tends to outpace regular torpedoes. So these are for that. I might redo these at some point, because I think, like, I don't know, they're a little bit underwhelming in performance. These things are much better in performance, because these are big, heavy-hitting ones. 4 explosive warheads and 2 EMP. And these, I like to stick regulators on torpedoes simply because they have really long range if you do that, because they make it so that the thing doesn't explode after just 60 seconds. It's like takes, well, was it 60 or 30? I can't remember. Let's go find the regulator on here. Okay. Yeah, so it essentially extends the life of a missile from 60 seconds to 240 seconds, which I believe, oh, my math is awful. Blech. Blech. 60, about 5 minutes, I think? No. Hang on, let me figure it out in my head. 60, 120, 240, 4 minutes. 4 minutes, sorry. Which is a long time, especially for torpedo. It means these things, and also because they've got, like, 2 fuel tanks is plenty for a torpedo, by the way. It'll last a really long time. It will last until it hits its target. And it's also got these little torpedo poppers, same brand that I've used before on the, whatchamacallit, on the Skilla. So yeah, we're quite proud of these. They do a pretty damn good job, so long as at long range at the very least. Once torpedoes get close, they're not as good. It's got 3 of those turrets, so there's 1, and it's got 2 more, or just 1 more. Does this only have 2? Huh, I think. Looks like I got rid of one. I was in a bad mood that day, apparently. It's also got props on the side, just spare props in case it blows up. Lots of redundancies. Hydrofoils on the side, so it doesn't roll, because this is before I knew how to use PIDs. Staggered propellers in the back. Lots of them, so it goes reasonably fast for a ship this big. More hydrofoils here, just kind of camouflaged with lumps of armor. And yeah. Alloy deck over here, metal deck over here. Quite thick armor. Yeah, so here's an air gap just in case heat is a problem. So yeah, I could go on for much longer about the Naga. I've spent... What number is she on? She is on version 166. I've been working on her for quite some time. Built her... I think I built her shortly after I built the first iteration of the Skilla. So... yeah, she's actually been in the works a long time. I don't build ships fast. Which is, yeah, it's worth mentioning, I guess. And I just realized I skipped one, because this next one is going to be very underwhelming. It is... where is it? This is the Suriname, and this is possibly the ugliest thing I've ever made or ever seen, and this is the refinery ship. I upgraded this some time ago, with something that my buddy Razul made for me. It's just the most efficient refinery, apparently possible. Well, apparently possible. Where's it? So here... so refinery efficiency of 244, which means... I believe... yeah, well, it basically means for every 1 material it makes 244 fuel. Which is really good, and is... particularly good for me, because I didn't cotton on to the idea of, like, high-efficiency engines until recently. So yeah, not much to say about it. It's ugly as sin and just fast enough to keep up with the rest of my ships. It's never meant to be into play. It's got nothing interesting about it, really. So yeah, that's all my surface craft. And now we'll go on to aircraft. So to start off with, I pretty much categorize all my flying things as airships rather than planes because, well, because they're not really planes. They don't act like planes or look like planes or move like planes. So this is the Ram-4. This is literally the first thing I spawned into the campaign. That wasn't a spy satellite. And, well, fast-moving orbiter, missiles and torpedoes. To my regret, like, it, I don't know, is a repair monster, and it does eat materials in order to use ammo. But it served its purpose pretty well in the early game, because it was popping red tuna and all that kind of stuff. You can see how many... It's got 8 repair bots. Like, something this size, you could get away with, like, 1 or maybe 2. And RTG powered, so it never uses fuel. So it saved costs on that front at least. But much further down the road, it got replaced. Something else, it got replaced with a slightly more material efficient version. Once we started brawling with the Onyx Watch. The Dimorpho, which is very similar in most regards, except slightly wider, different paint job. And just 2 really big torpedoes instead of anything else. These are actually huge. I think these are the similar, if not the same kind of torpedo that's on the Naga, actually. So this is just extra torpedoes in the water, basically. Nothing more, nothing less. Also RTG powered, and I believe 96.53 material cost. Slightly cheaper than the Ram-4, actually. So yeah, again, like, nothing amazing. Useless against anything that's not in the water, but against the Onyx Watch worked fine. But then it got replaced yet again with possibly the final iteration of this little hovercraft. Which it works completely differently, by the way. Where is it? And this is the Patagonia. Which is entirely a support craft, I should mention. It is designed to smoke up targets with the smoke gun in the middle, and shoot at unshielded targets with those big Sabot railguns on it. Or rather AP-capped railguns. And I can't take a lot of the credit for this. The original design worked much like the others. It worked by using Daddy Blades to control altitude and pitch, and roll a bit. Well, not so much roll. Didn't really need roll. What are you doing, oi? Are you gonna fall straight into the water? That would be embarrassing. So, in any case, my man Sabertooth Proton took this design and he retrofitted it to use a PID system, so it can just, I don't know, so it doesn't rock around so much. And also converted the direct input kinetic guns to rail guns, which is quite effective because they're a lot the shells are now a lot faster, they're a lot more accurate, and well, they can punch straight through to Telemachus. Yeah, not much to say about it. This craft really, it is really only similar to those 2 hovering up there in just appearance. So yeah, just a handy support thing. Main point of this guy was just to smoke up things for the torpedo bombers it like flies around with. So, and we'll get to those in a minute. And I should have mentioned this guy before because he was introduced a little bit before. This is the Quetzal. And the Quetzal... the hell's that called? The Quetzal V2S. So the original Quetzal, it's essentially a Ram-4 except with the missiles stripped off and a big radar dish stuck on it. So this is my first spy plane, which I'm rather pleased with because it does its job really well. It flies up high, it reveals a lot of the fog of war, I can keep an eye on things very well, and it's also pretty fast. And RTG powered again, so like you never need to refuel it. And the only difference between this and the V2S over here is that this guy goes into space with a PID. It was one of the first things I did once I figured out how to make PIDs, is to turn this thing into an orbital spy satellite. In fact, let's get you up there, and I believe this is a quicker way to do it. See, climbing fast, already higher than just Daddy Blades can get you. So we'll just let him do that for a second. So yeah, and now once we're done with the air, that's pretty much all the air power I have at the moment. Well, no, there's one more, but we'll get to that in a second. There's submarines. And what submarines did I have? I can't remember if I... No. I know what to... I remember what I've used, honest. So, in the submarines, I have 3 submarines here. Never seen the Penguin, so don't worry about it. It's like the Ramfall, but underwater. So, the Kula. Rather pleased with this guy. And he's gone through a few changes. He was... this thing was using beam riding torpedoes back when passive sonar couldn't detect them. Then it was changed, and then I switched back to sonar. And then somebody pointed out the merits of using beam riding torpedoes, and I switched it back again. So, yeah, not much to say really. It's got beam riding torpedo turrets. It's got a hefty anti-torpedo system, which hasn't really been shown off yet in the campaign because the Onyx Watch doesn't use torpedoes much. It'll be shown off a lot more once we actually start dealing with later factions, like the Lightning Hoods, the White Flayers, the Steel Striders, that kind of lot. In particular, and once again I need to thank one of the members of the community for this, Boom Boom Shake the Room, otherwise known as my fellow New Zealand buddy. He tricked this thing out with PIDs. And so before it was using Daddy Blades to just kind of control altitude and pitch and all that kind of stuff, and he's tricked it using a combination of PID... What the hell happened here? Dude! It's no longer fully enclosed ammo department, what are you doing? That might be my fault, actually. Okay, never mind. So, yeah. All this kind of stuff. It's cunning things involving a lot of spin blocks and ACBs controlling what the PIDs do. And I have not yet gone and reverse engineered this because I need to stick this on my other submarines. And any future submarines I build, for that matter. So yeah, this thing actually has underwater terrain avoidance now, as thanks to all the things Boom has done. Thank you very much. It's apparently very difficult to do, which I can imagine. So yeah, also quite fast. And useless against anything that's not in the water, which is where this other submarine comes in. And you might have spotted, back in the... hang on, where's it? Ah, gone too far. Retirecraft, the original Crocodile is in here, because I've just decided, you know what, like, it was cool for a while, but I don't feel it delivers, like, as much as I wanted to as a surface craft, which is why I converted it to a submarine, where it does a lot better. And I haven't tricked this out the same way Boom has tricked out the Kula. So it still uses Daddy Blades in order to maintain pitch, altitude, and roll. Yeah, and quite an ingenious thing. It's got missiles to engage surface targets. Like mixture of same thing, exactly the same missiles as on the Naga actually. So. Except variable thrusters, I wonder why I did that. So target protection guidance and frag on one side. I need to adjust this actually. In fact, we're going to do this. I've recently found out again that 180 degree frag just generally works a lot better. And I just ruined what the EMP is doing, don't I? Yes, I did. Mother of God. Mother of G. No worries, I'll just fix it while I talk. So... yeah, this guy is kind of a little bit of an all-round submarine. Just he's got missiles, he's got torpedoes, and importantly, I should mention that like he has smoke guns on him, or she. I guess submarines are still she. So load placeholder, load placeholder, load placeholder. Is that EMP? That's all EMP, and this is all what? That's not what I wanted at all. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, let's just... sorry, I'm getting distracted right now, but like I can't leave this because if I do, I will forget. You know how it is. You know how it is, lads. There's actually 3 different bloody things happening here. Did I do that correctly? This is EMP. That's frag. That's EMP. That's frag. Good. So not symmetrical on either side. Possibly not the most effective missile Tetris in here. It's just a great big armored lump protecting the AI, which is very close to center of mass. This is not a good idea, ladies and gentlemen, because center of mass, even though craft in the game don't actually aim for center of mass ever, this still is the easiest part of the craft to hit, just by accident, so yeah, best not to stick your AI anywhere near this. Unless you really heavily armor it, which I've tried to do here. And also torpedo poppers. Yeah, dun 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 dun, and smoke. And so this was basically, when I converted this into a submarine, I basically said, you know what, I hate LAM system, let's ignore them. And for the most part, that's worked. So yeah, and it's also got nice spiky bits on the side. It kind of looks like it has ears from above like this. So yeah, that's the Croc. And also going to be, I think I can bring these in against fighting the Lightning Hoods, because it does have smoke somewhere. Cool. Smoke somewhere. Yeah, here it has smoke. Not the most efficiently set up smoke, I gotta admit. But yeah. I should really go fix that as well. My to-do list keeps getting long. Excuse me, my throat's getting dry. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Are we in space yet? Yes. Yes, we are. 2,500 meters up. As high up as you can go. So yeah. Cooler, Crocodile, all those aircraft. And now, we're going to do that. And we're stuck in space, so we're going to restart the designer. We're down here again. And you turn on. And where's that raft? Where's this raft that apparently is made by our Lord and Savior Nick Smart? Jingle bells, go to hell. No, don't repair this thing. And... yep, go away. Thank you. Okay, so where were we? Okay, Lend-Lease. So first off, we're gonna spawn in the thing that tends to, like, run off into the middle distance. It's the Boa, and its later version, the Python, by Welner. This is really cool. The Python is kind of the more tricked out version. And, like, I don't even feel like trying to put the brakes on this guy. He's on his own agenda. Looks really cool. Very effective. It's a ship by Welner. What did you expect? So that's that guy and this guy, who is cheaper and slightly more optimized. Slightly more optimized. Because he's got less knickknacks and more guns. And he actually stays still, I believe. That might have... admittedly, like, when he stays still, when she stays still, she rolls over, because she's not meant to stand still. So, yeah, sorry about that, Wilner. In putting the brakes on your handiwork, it just loses the will to live, essentially, and capsizes. Okay, so that's those two ships. I won't go into too much detail over them, because I've done a review on a Welner's Python, so if you want in-depth on that, like, go look at that. I talked about that ship at length. So yeah, and then we get to the other thing. Where is it? Subscriber craft. This folder is huge! This folder is huge! People have been so nice in sending me stuff. Okay, so here we have all the stuff. Don't panic, this isn't the review list. It never fully was, never fully will be. Dun, 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 dun. Oh god, what? Where is it? Where is it? I'm trying to remember what the freaking first number of it was. Damn it. See? No. Okay, there's one. No. No, 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 no. Damn it, this is embarrassing. I lost the thing. The thing's small and adorable. And I lost it in here. Hang on, give me a second, I'll find it. Oh, here it is. Dummy, I was looking in the wrong folder. Right, the DE-01 Lancer. Like miniature German engineering at its finest. Like, really, I love this thing. This is grand. It's just, I don't know, it's such a selfless little, well, I say little ship. It's like 73 meters long, but, and the other ship I'm going to mention a bit isn't a hell of a lot bigger, but very well optimized, very well done. Lots of love went into this little guy. I keep thinking it is small simply because I keep using it right next to the Naga, which is bloody enormous in comparison. So yeah, it's got a little... what's in here? Mixed bag, I believe. Well, no, not really. It's got timed fuse flak frag in there, which is absolutely gorgeous. Got beautiful traces on it. I'm not going to jump on it because there's no way out for the pilot. And it's got this big Hesh gun on top. Yep, pretty straightforward. Hesh and frag. Nothing fancy, just works really well. And what else? It's got a killer LAMs on it. Like, I learned how to make a LAM system off this thing by essentially prefabbing what was on here and making it bigger. So, yeah, pretty much every LAM system I'm currently using, including the one on the Naga, comes from reverse engineering this. It's also got little simple lasers on it, which is really cool. It's got little missiles. It's got torpedoes that fire straight down, I believe. Yeah, right here. Right here. Look at that. Torpedoes. And it's got little sticky flares, of course. It's got detection equipment all over it. I could spend a lot of time going over... oh shit, did I even mention him? Razul is the guy who made this. And I could spend a lot of time going over his work. I'm not going to because I apparently, according to my stopwatch, only have 7 minutes left. But if you ever get a chance to look over one of his ships, do, because he... well, it's the same with like any of the guys I've gotten stuff from. They put love, time and effort into their craft, and it shows. Especially this one. Right here, this is... where's it? It's back where I got lost, apparently. Yeah, most recent one is over here. CRH-02 Wyvern, or Wyvern, I keep forgetting, which is essentially the Lancer, but even bigger. Bigger and even more well optimized. Lots of shields, lots of guns, lots of everything, and LAM system that is bloody terrifying, actually. Trying to kill this thing with cram cannons is pretty much impossible unless you have smoke guns, which all of my cram-using craft do. Ha ha ha. Even has missile interceptors on it as well. So yeah, so this guy uses a party mix of ammunition. It's it's disruptor smoke in the main guns. It's hollow point high explosive plus a bit of frag, and it's Hesh frag. So yeah, quite a lot of frag. Does the job very well. Just again, I could spend a lot more time on this. In fact, I have reviewed the Wyvern. But yeah, so if you ever get a chance, like, I'm going to be posting links to the Steam Workshop for pretty much every craft here, as much as I'm able to. Like, not the craft that's retired, obviously, because they're crappy. But this one is definitely getting a link. And so yeah, adorable little side guns, and just I'm very pleased to have this in my fleet on Niter. It is a very sweet craft. And hyper efficient, only 100 meters long, and can go one-on-one with a Bulwark, which costs 3 times as much and is a lot bigger. And the final little Lend-Lease guy, Lend-Lease thing is an aircraft, and it is this thing, the Anyarog, which is what is left of a craft that I keep forgetting how to say his name. Pros Parkour sent me. So it is the XJ8 Anyarog, and that is because it is derived from the... Where is it? I think it's in here, if I go here. The XJ8 Falcon Naval Bomber, which is much better looking, I have to say, and is actually a frickin' plane, as opposed to what I have, which is a RTG-powered rotorcraft thing that is trying to masquerade as a plane and is headbanging to music only he can hear. Where'd he go? Why are you in orbit? That's just weird. I don't know, so maybe something happened. Maybe I spawned at the wrong height. But yeah, this guy right here has lots of missiles and torpedoes and all that stuff. And a great big custom jet, and is fast, looks good, and just, you know, if you're into jet planes in From the Depths, this is right up your alley. Prospart makes pretty good jets. Like, I certainly like him. I can't make aircraft to save my life, which is why I cheat with Daddy Blades. And meanwhile, the Anurog is, well, this headbanging thing. It's basically the only thing that has really stayed the same is the airframe itself and some of the torpedoes, except not really. Like, I found out just the other day that the ballast tanks on these smaller torpedoes, the float depth was set to 3, and while I was testing craft in Glau, and I don't blame Prospart for this, because, like, this craft, the Extra Falcon wasn't designed for anything but the Nita campaign, because I gave him specifications, and he worked towards that. Like, as a good arms dealer does. This thing tends to zip under anything that doesn't have hull depth of at least 3 under the water, so I set it to 0, set it to neutral. So yeah, not a hell of a lot of difference. I like... The main difference between the Anurog and the Falcon there is that the Anurog orbits a target, and the Falcon does attack runs. It's also flying into the water a lot, and I'm not sure why it's doing that. Prospart, I tell you to fix your plane. And actually, yeah, fix your plane. Just generally fix it. So yeah, an Anurog is purpose-built to work hand in hand with the Patagona. Patagona smokes up a target and puts the occasional hole in it, and the Anurog just throws torpedoes into the water until the target's dead. So it's a nice partnership, works very well. And onto future craft. This is the exciting bit. So the next faction we're going to attack, I have decided is the Lightning Hoods, despite, I don't know, some dissension in the ranks over what faction I should go for next. And I've decided Lightning Hoods because they're going to declare war on me anyway when I take the Onyx Throne, unless I immediately declare war on someone else, and I don't feel like doing that. Like, I reckon anyone who wants to declare war on me should get what's coming to them. And so here are, briefly, the 2 craft that are going to be my main Lightning Hood killers. They're essentially layered wood and smoke, and weapons that can deal with fast, annoying targets. So here they are. I've shown off the Wadjet before in a video, I believe. And they're interesting for a number of things. This hull shape should look quite familiar to you. This is essentially the Naga hull, and this is the Raktabaja. And it's an older design of mine, back when I was first testing as the Lightning Hoods, and just purpose-built to kill the Hypatos, which is where I found out the whole trick with using APN-guided fast missiles to take that damn thing down. And this is the successor to that original not very good design, because not a repair monster, has the same kind of shielding as the Naga, has a lot more smoke, and it's just, it looks better as well. I think it looks pretty sweet in wood. And it's got, what is this? It's got squash guns, hash guns on the side, just in case something falls into the water. It's got time frag. This does not use smoke at all. It doesn't use smoke guns, which is unusual for something, especially something that uses missiles. And the reason for that is it works in concert with this hovercraft right here, the Wadjet, which is the first laser craft I've ever built that I'm actually happy with. It's got 4 big lasers on it, like strong laser systems on the side, PID craft as well, so it's nice and torpedo proof, and also lots of wood, lots of smoke, so it can deal with anything armed with lasers pretty well. Like, one of Wadjet, it doesn't, one Wadjet cannot take down more than 1 Hypatos. 1-on-1, Wadjet wins easily, and yeah, 2 Wadjets versus 2 Hypatos, still the Wadjet wins. And it's not the prettiest craft in the world. It has been unfavorably compared to 2 robots in a canoe. But I'm fine with that because it works, it does what I want it to, so that's pretty cool. And one of the reasons like both these crafts is made of wood is A, to cut costs down so I can spawn them in quickly and deal with the lightning hoods when they try and come and kill me. And secondly, because lasers basically ignore armor. You can get very high armor piercing values with laser weapons, and they ignore armor stacking completely. I'm not sure why that is, because that is a bit of a game breaker. So, like, honestly, like, wood is actually the most cost-effective armor to use against lasers, because, well, wood, like, material cost for health, wood is the best option. So, here you have a wooden beam, it costs 4 materials and has 1000 health. Meanwhile, you have a metal beam which is 20 materials and has 2100 health. So, metal has twice the health of wood, but it costs 5 times as much. And remember, lasers don't care about armor. So, that 15 armor is worth nothing, and the armor stack bonus is worth nothing if it's a laser shooting at you. So, smoked wood, like smoked mahogany, is by far the best way. Well, not the best way, it's just a really good way of dealing with lasercraft. Also, these guys have repair bots, and they're repair spammy, but because they're made of wood, and because they don't really have expensive bits get blown off that often, they eat very little materials as a result. So yeah, these two are going to make fighting the lightning hoods a lot easier, and I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you are as well. And that concludes my craft rundown. It's just all the craft I liked a lot, a craft which I didn't like so much and were complete failures, all the craft lent to me by wonderful people, and these craft I've recently made and are going to prove themselves in the future. So, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. Farewell!